This podcast is brought to you by Podcast Nation.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
Saturday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Saturday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Saturday. Saturday, bring it on.
Welcome to Nirvana Sisters podcast, where we take the intimidation out of well-being and beauty to help you achieve your highest state, your nirvana. We are sisters-in-law and your hosts. I'm Amy Sherman.
And I'm Katie Chandler. So let's get into some real conversation.
Welcome back to the show, Nirvana Sisters family. We got such an incredible response from parent coach Erika's episode last week that we decided to add a part 2 in with some more pieces of feedback, tips, and tricks to talk to your kids. This one is really about getting advice on some real life scenarios, really tough topics like sex, how to answer some of your children's more difficult questions, really, really helpful sort of templates, how to approach it. Take a listen and hope you enjoy.
I'm really grateful for my time spent in the schools because it was a window into adolescence. I worked in a charter school in Brooklyn with elementary, and I also worked in a high school. But for 3 years, I spent every day with adolescents. And I think having that insight, and they came to me with everything. I mean, everything. There is not an issue I have not seen. Banging down my door. Ms. Brunwasser, I got to talk to you about this. Ms. Brunwasser, I got to talk to you about this. And having that insight is so important for knowing and having foresight into what I want to develop and not develop in my own kids. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be perfect, by the way. They're going to have plenty of their own.
You should write a book.
I'm sorry.
All the things I learned from middle schoolers.
I think that I've mentioned things to friends about, well, I don't want this to happen in the future. And I don't want this to happen in the future. And it kind of looks like anxiety. Like, Erika, why are you worried about that? They're 3. Like, What are you talking about getting a phone at 10? They're not, they're 3. Or what do you mean they're going to wear crop tops when they're 12? They're 3 and 6. Because I know what's coming. And there are so many intentional things we can do in our families in the younger years to set up our family for connection and for success. And starting young is a great way to do it. And I'm not saying it's too late once they're teenagers, but knowing that every night at 9:00, phones go in the basket and having them see you do it. It'll be much easier when they turn 11 to say, I'm giving you this phone and it goes in the basket every night at 9:00. No ifs, ands, or buts, or 8:00 or whatever.
Yeah, I've fucked all that up blatantly. Like, I started off good, phone contracts, the whole thing, but now it's like a freaking shit show.
It's just like life. We're all going through it. I'm not perfect. You know how they say like the shoemaker's kid has no shoes?
Yeah.
I'm not always perfect.
I know. It was like in my head, like I had my phone contracts and it like worked for a little while, but now with my 15-year-old, forget it. Like if I asked him to put his phone away at 9:00, we used to do that, but now it's like, he has a girlfriend, he's this, he's that. Like, I mean, it's in his room every night and I've like given up, and that's bad, but I can't. It's like, I got to pick my battles.
Pick your battles. Yeah.
And nothing's perfect, and small progress is still progress. So maybe it's one night a week that you guys are just hanging out together and phones are away. And that has an impact.
But we instituted like, no video games for my older son during the week. And for my younger one, it was like, I think we had like 2 days where he can't play video games or something. And that's worked because it's been consistent.
Yeah. That's great. If it's consistent, right? Isn't that what matters?
Yeah, I think
Katie, I want to hear your question about Maddie and what she asked you recently.
Okay. So that's a great segue. Why don't we do some like quick scenarios, and some of these can go really, really deep. So we, as much as I would love, we'll have to have you come back for a round 2. For sure.
I feel like I've been like dumping all my problems.
No, it's
you're gonna
isn't
have
that
to set
amazing?
up an appointment, Amy.
I know.
100%.
All right. So quick scenarios and how you know your quick advice on it. But we'll start with what Amy said. So the other day, Madeline, my 8-year-old, who is 8, what feels like going on 20, it's freaking terrifying, came to me and said, "Mommy, what is a stripper?" And my jaw hit the floor, and I said to her, "Where did you hear that word?" And she said, "I heard it on a teacher's ringtone," which is code for I heard it on probably a 5th grader's ringtone on the bus, right? Because I asked, like, "Who's this teacher? What do they look like?" She couldn't give me anything. I didn't even worry about the little white lie. Fine. My first reaction was, I don't know that word. And then I said, "Oh, I think they're talking about a candy striper. That's a type of nurse."
God.
Then I ran to my bedroom and texted Erika, "What the hell do I do?" And so Erika gave me fantastic advice, and it worked. And
okay, so what was this advice?
Yeah.
Okay, so number 1, I will tell you that I've had time to prep my answer to this question because you did come to me with this a few days ago. So it's not as quick as some of my other answers might be, and I hope that that's okay. I want to cover a bunch of stuff that I think is important here. It can be about a stripper. It can be about what is depression. It can be about what is war, what is sex. This is my formula for everything, okay?
Great. Okay. Perfect.
Number 1.
Oh, I love it.
You thank your kid. Thank you for coming to me with this. That was not easy to do, and I know that. And I trust you, and you trust me, and I'm here for you. You were brave. Number 1, you have to reinforce it. But specifically for the stripper question, I think this answer is very much going to depend on the family's values, cultural norms, expectations. And the reason that I am thinking about this is because we're here in puritanical America. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Puritan country of America, where we cover up and we don't strip and whatever. However, maybe someone in France thinks it's okay to be a burlesque dancer.
Right.
And I think that just in the same way that I work with clients, not to put my values on them, but to help them raise their children with their values, this is similar. So you want to show your kid, that there are different ways of life without being too judgmental. However, because of everything that is going on in our world, raising a kid in 2022 is not the same as it was raising a kid 20 years ago. And it's not the same as it was raising a kid 40 years ago. And when a kid comes to you with something like this, you should absolutely take the opportunity to share your values and use it as a learning experience because they have so much unlimited access to information.
Right.
And if you don't take the opportunity to educate them about what's right in your family and what's not, they will make their own conclusions. And that's why it's so important to be able to set a tone where in your house you do talk about these things. So by thanking them, thank you for coming to me with this, it's really setting them up. So having said that, take it as an opportunity for teaching and for sharing the values that you want them to grow up with and have in your family, but be as factual as possible. And I think this is really important depending on the age of the kid too, because people always offer up so much information. They start to feel nervous. Oh my God, stripper, blah, 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 and they just share everything about a stripper that they ever knew in the world. But guess what? When a 5-year-old asks what a stripper is, it's different than how you would answer a 10-year-old,
right? Which
is different than how you would answer a 15-year-old. And so I think being as factual as possible is really important. So a stripper is a word for some grown-ups who have a job where they take their clothes off and show their bodies to other people. That is a fact. So thank them for coming to you. Tell them the factual information, define it for them, and then share your values and the way you want to educate them. So it's not a job that I agree with, or it's not a job that I think is okay. It's not a job that I would hope for you to have one day. You're going to have your choice to do lots of other jobs, and you can remind them depending on the age as well. And you should remind them in a question like this, that our bodies are private. We keep our bodies private. We respect our bodies. We don't share our private areas with other people. So especially with an 8-year-old, this is something I would want to incorporate into this conversation. I wouldn't necessarily say it to a 16-year-old because they already know that, hopefully.
Right.
And, if they ask you more, you answer. And then at the end, you always close it with, I am here for you. And you can ask me anything else about this. Always.
That's exactly what I did with Madeline. And first of all, she was like salivating when I went to say, I'm going to tell you what this is. She sat on my lap and she had a smile on her face like, oh, this is going to be good. Like that's totally what was happening. And then I went through all of that, everything that Erika just said in my own words. And she walked away with and was just like, okay, mommy, I understand. Okay, thank you. And like,
that's awesome. So you went back into the room and you said, like, thank you for asking me that question.
Next day, I told her, I said, I Googled this to find out what it is, which I don't know if like that's good or not, whatever. But I had already told her I didn't know what the word was.
Right. You don't want to be
cover my tracks.
Yeah.
So, and it hasn't come up since. And it's, and I also,
when you said like, this is something that I don't think is a good job and like, did she understand that? Like, what were her reactions? Sure.
She understood it because I said, and Erika helped me on this one, that like not all adults make good choices, like we can all make bad choices.
But just because they're a grown up doesn't mean they're always making the right choice.
Right. And
sometimes they don't have a choice. And you are going to go to college and you are going to have a choice of jobs.
Exactly.
Some people don't have a choice about how they make money and they feel desperate. I mean, there are, depending on the age, you can get into things like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I also interjected with one thing that I'm not sure if it was right or not, but I said, mommy and daddy would never want this job for you. You come from a very loving home, and sadly not all grownups always come from a loving home or have a supportive life coming up in the world. And so that has kind of led them to make these difficult, bad choices. And I said, and you have a very loving mommy and daddy that, it's like, I don't know. It was kind of just like me more making sure, like honing it in that it's not anything that would ever interest her or she would even think would be a necessary or a need or on the table. Like that was the thing for me.
That part might be different with a 13-year-old,
right?
Because they might say, well, what if this makes me feel good? And you would explore what makes them feel good,
right.
What makes them feel respected, what doesn't. And you would explore, well, how do you feel about 5 men standing around and looking at your body? Let's talk about that. That's what happens with a stripper. You would, depending on the age, it's different. And then you're going to talk about, well, I think it's very powerful to share your own story. Sometimes you don't want to tell everything. But when I decided that a boy was going to see my body and my private areas, and by the way, I like to use real anatomy and use real words. When I decided that my boyfriend was going to see my vagina, by the way, vagina is not a bad word. It's a medical term for something that's on our body. And my breasts, I was in a relationship with that person. He was my boyfriend. We trusted each other. We loved each other. I felt comfortable with him. And I loved taking my shirt off with him because I knew that he was going to be there for me. And he thought I was beautiful. And I felt beautiful. So depending on whether they're 5, 15, 8, whatever, the conversation's going to look different.
Yeah.
And the number one thing is we're open enough that we want them to, feel comfortable coming back. Because if not, they're going to Google it. They're going to figure it out on the bus.
Exactly.
They're going to come up with some weird explanation. You want to be the one to deliver it with your values because you're raising a kid based on your values.
That is a great segue into sex. And I feel like you kind of just touched on it a little bit. But how do you talk to a kid about sex? I mean, Madeline has, in 2nd grade, she went to a Catholic private school last year. wonderful school, but they did send her home with a sexual abuse pamphlet in second grade, which I didn't really feel was super
Oh my
appropriate.
God.
Yeah. So
What?
we had
I didn't know that.
about it at that point. And so
Did it say the words sexual?
It did. Yeah. And so she said, Mommy, what's sexual? What's sex mean? Like, what's sexual? Because she
Oh my
knew
gosh.
what abuse was, but she didn't understand that part. And so I just explained it to her in a very anatomically, like scientific way. It's like mommy has the egg, daddy has the fertilizer, like that type.
First of all, we have to acknowledge that sex is here to stay, guys. It's here. It's not going anywhere.
Right.
So if you want your kids, just like with everything else I've said, if you want your kids to internalize your values and be educated by you, then you have to be open to talking about these things, plain and simple. What you say sends a message, and what you don't say sends a message. And it's very clear, and they absorb it, and they know what they can come to mom with and what they can't, or mom and dad and whoever, right? So you have to strive to make your house a place where they can come to you with anything, or else they will find it somewhere else. So with sex, I would be as factual as possible, especially with the young ones if they hear about it. Sex is, my daughter actually asked me recently something like, I was in your tummy and then I came out of your tummy? And I was like, yeah. But how did I get in your tummy? And I said, and that's a common one that parents get all tripped up. They're not asking you to tell you about your craziest sexual experience that you ever had that one night in college. They're not asking you that. They're asking you, how did I get in your tummy? What is the answer? A sperm and an egg came together, and that is how you were in my tummy. Men have sperm in their bodies. Women have eggs in their bodies, and they come together and they make a baby. And by the way, this accounts for differences in how people have babies too, because some people, don't have a mom and a dad. Some people have two moms. Some people have two dads. Some people are from sperm donors. Some are adopted. The fact is, for every single human being on this planet, a sperm and an egg has come together to make a baby. Then if they ask you more, you go deeper.
Yeah, that's great.
But that's
that's kind of how I was thinking about it when Madeline came to me, just like facts and like science, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened with us, with our kids. And also in school in 5th grade is when, at least here, is when they do that subject. And they do it very science oriented, but they tell you before, so you can have that conversation before they actually learn it at school, which I think is really helpful. Speaking of Googling things, this is a friend of mine years and years ago. Katie, you know this friend, but I won't say who it is. Her daughter was asking her at a very young age what sex was, and she kept, I'll tell you later. We'll talk about it later, because when her daughter would ask, it would be like in the middle of something that they were doing, that like they were in a store or they were, it wasn't like the appropriate moment. And she kind of ignored it a couple of times. And then her daughter Googled it and porn came into her face and she freaked out.
Yeah. And
it was like such a lesson when I had heard that, because my kids were younger at the time. I was like, oh my God, that's so scary. And she's a very communicative mother. It's just like, sometimes you just blow things off and you don't think about the consequences of what that could mean.
And you also don't necessarily know how big your child's curiosity is about it. Like,
right. They might hear it and ask once, and then she probably figured, they're not going to ask me again. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. It's.
One quick thing I'll say, my little one was asking me about sex or talking out about it. And I said, oh, do you know what that is? And he said, yeah. And I said, oh, okay. What do you think it is? And he said, well, it's when a man and a woman get naked and they take a bath together. And I said, okay. Like, I didn't clarify it. I just, at that time, sort of just, because sometimes they'll say things that they don't even know, like they think they know what it is, but they don't. And I said, I think
when a kid thinks that and they want to know more, they'll come to you and say, well, I thought it was this, but really, what is it? And that's when they're ready to know.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just funny because they'll say things that they think they know, but they actually don't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. Before we wrap, there's two quick things that I want to hit.
Yeah.
Erika says this quote of hers that I love, and it really resonates with me. And our listeners have to hear it, because we all are busy parents all the time. And, it's like maybe on a Saturday, when there's no work going on and the kids are in the house and it's like, oh, okay. Oh, I've got so much to do. I got to do the laundry. I got to get caught up on this. But the kids are here. I have to be with the kids. Erika's quote is, I have to be with my kids all day versus I get to be with my kids all day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a little flip in the mindset that is really impactful. And it really, it was very like last weekend, it kept going in my head because I could have been doing a million things that I needed to do. Mm-hmm. But then I said that to myself and it just like changed everything. And I was like, I like enthralled in the kids and we
love that
together, so anyway, it's a great one. I love that.
I love that.
Yeah. I think just reframing is such a big part of what I do with my clients. Like just, they're taking in as much positive stuff about them as you can. And think of all the people who don't get to be with their kids for whatever reason, or, I think that we have to just look at them with the most positive light that we can. And the more we appreciate them, the more they feel that. And it's just like the goodness grows.
Yes, 100%. Okay.
Yeah, I love that. And it's funny because I think we talked about this on another episode recently, but we were talking about like mindset and like framing things differently. I've never really thought it as much. Well, I guess I have thought it about myself more, but like if my kids will say like, oh, I have to go to school today. And I'm like, you get to go to school today. You're lucky that you get to go to school and not everybody, So yeah, it's really, I love that.
That's great. All right. Well, Erika, how can our listeners find you? Because now they're all going to be knocking down your door.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you do virtuals?
Of course, we've been doing Zoom with clients, like Google Meet, whatever floats your boat. I have an Instagram, which is Parent Coach Erika with a K, Parent Coach Erika. And anyone can look at that. I share a lot of content there, like you mentioned, Katie. I am working on my website, which is going to be parentcoacherika.com, I believe, but it's in the process. And you can email me at Erika Brunwasser, Erika, B as in boy, RUNWASSER @gmail.com.
Fabulous. And we'll have all of that in our show notes also. And trust me, you're going to want to reach out to Erika because
I'll be reaching out.
It's amazing. All right. So let's do our quick wrap session, Erika. It's just some fun questions for you. What is your favorite wellness or beauty hack?
So I don't know if you guys know about Beauty Counter. Mm-mm. It's an amazing brand that has been developed by this awesome CEO, Greg Renfrew in California. And the goal was to make cosmetics and skincare without 1,500 of the most toxic ingredients that are commonly found in our skincare. And I sold it for a while, and now I'm just hooked, and I love it.
Oh, nice!
It's really awesome.
Is that it's all vegan, right?
Not
is it vegan or is it organic?
Free of harmful chemicals, and it's really high performing too. Like I find that it works just as well as all the department store stuff, and it makes me feel good because I know that I'm doing something healthy for my skin when I put it on.
Nice, yeah.
I love the serums.
And your gorgeous skin.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I think I just heard a podcast with the founder of Beauty Counter because I wanted to try it. They have it's like their own line, right? Because
yes, but it's awesome, and it's also you're supporting a small woman-owned business when you buy from them because it has consultants. It's just it's a really cool brand. I like it.
I've heard it's really good. Yeah,
I love that. Okay, so next one we call our 5-minute flow. You just got out of the shower, Uber pinged you. They're 5 minutes away. What are you going to do to get out the door and in that what are your holy grails? What are you going to throw on and get in that car on time?
Okay, so if I only have 5 minutes, I'm really hoping it's the summertime because I don't have time. If this is 5 minutes, I'm going out with wet hair and letting it air dry. Right. So hopefully it's summer. And I would just, put on my face lotion, a little concealer, some eyeliner, a little lip gloss, a dress, sandals, and call it a day.
Nice. I love that. Yep.
We need some summer.
I know.
It's so cold right now.
We're ready for the sun.
And how do you maintain your daily nirvana?
Well, I would love to say that I attain nirvana every day. I parent myself. And even though I seem, calm, cool, and collected, it's not so easy when you're raising a 3 and 6-year-old. But I will say I take a lot of breaks. And I am not ashamed to say, your whole podcast is about self-care. And when I heard that, when I first met Katie and heard about it, I was like, yes. We need self-care. And I am not ashamed that I take breaks. I go get a 20-minute foot massage at the nail place. Mm-hmm. I do what I got to do. And thank God for my husband because he's extremely supportive. He is really my partner. He's a team player. He takes over and does stuff with the girls all the time. And I'm like, gotta go. See ya.
I love that.
I'm out. Mommy's going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
All right, Erika, I love everything you just said. We could not agree with you more. The breaks are super important. So having said that, let's close with our mantra.
So the mantra is smile. It's good for your immune system.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Great.
That was posted by a company that I just got some supplements from called Symbiotica. I don't know if it's their quote or they just, I don't know. I saw it on their Instagram recently and I was like, oh, I love that.
That's great. Love it.
Yeah.
I'm smiling right now. All right. Well, Erika Brunwasser, parent coach, spectacular. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
This is so fun, guys.
I feel like I vented everything that I needed to vent. And now I'm like,
we need to. We got to get it out.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you again. Thanks for listening to Nirvana Sisters. For more information on this episode, check out the show notes, please subscribe, and leave us a review. Also, find us on Instagram at Nirvana Sisters. If you loved what you just listened to or know someone that would, please share it and tag us. Tune in next week for a fresh new episode of Nirvana Sisters. We'll continue to watch out for all things wellness so you don't have to. Bye.